Hello and welcome to Round Robin. I'm your host, Robin McCormick, and today we're going to talk about victims and witnesses to crimes. I think it's a very scary position to be in facing the court system, but Hampton in the Commonwealth's Attorney's Office has a person and a program that can help people get through that system. So my guest today is Karla Crump Reaves. Welcome, Karla.
Thank you, Robin. It's great to be here.
You've been doing this for a darn long time.
Yes, I have. 27 years, actually December 5th.
What prompted you to get in? I mean, this was really in the early days of even having services for victims and witnesses. What prompted you to enter this field and kind of shape the program that we have here?
Well, second semester of my senior year in college, I went away to school, Elizabeth City State University, and my major was sociology. And second semester of my senior year, I was afforded the opportunity to do an internship in the Commonwealth's Attorney's Office.
Oh.
At that time, Chris Hutton was the Commonwealth's Attorney, who's now a circuit court judge in Hampton. But he offered me the opportunity to do the internship here, and after the internship, he hired me. And I have been here ever since.
Wow. So, now, I mean, this is obviously a career for you, but it's got to also be a passion. I mean, to spend day in and day out helping people who either have suffered a crime or are coming forward to testify, that's got to take a lot of energy and commitment.
It does. You do have to have a passion for working with people, and I do. I love people, I love family, and I think that the opportunities that I've had in working with people just give you a better understanding of how people are affected by crime, the types of things that you can do to try to get them through what can be a very difficult time. I find rewarding. And of course, if the outcome is what we hope it to be, then I feel rewarded by doing that. As I said, I've been with the Victim Witness Program for many, many years, and have seen a lot of situations where people have been traumatized. Some people have not been able to overcome the violations that they have been faced with. So, you know, we just want to make that time for them as easy as possible. And I must say, I don't do this alone. I used to do it alone, but I have a very, very wonderful staff of 6 others in the office who work with victims and witnesses day in and day out.
Sad that the program needed to grow that big.
Unfortunately, it did.
But good.
Yeah, because I started, and I always tell this joke, I started in a cedar closet, literally, a cedar closet where we had to have a chair outside of the office, and in order for me to speak with a victim or witness, I had to put the chair in the office.
Oh my gosh.
So we moved from there to where we are now in the General District Court building, and of course, we're outgrowing that as well. So.
Right. So tell me a little bit about services. Say a crime victim, you know, someone is a victim of a crime. How do you even get in touch with that person? I mean, what happens? Well, hopefully most of us won't have to go through this.
Well, generally, and let me start by saying this, believe it or not, many mornings when I'm waking up, I turn the TV on and I'm listening to hear what has happened in the city of Hampton. And there are times that I get that information from there. But we have a very good working relationship with the police department. So we're able to get information as to crimes that have occurred, homicides, sexual assaults, robberies, you know, all of those types of crimes. And we're able to get information so that we can send out letters letting them know that the services are available, how they can get services, and we're here for you. And so it pretty much starts there, and then of course when cases proceed, those that someone has been apprehended, once those cases come to court, then that's when our services really begin working with victims and witnesses. Checking them in for court, making sure they know who the attorneys are.
Now, how do you even do that? Because I think the legal process, I mean, I used to cover court for a brief period of time when I worked for the newspaper. It's a very processy system, and it has its own lingo and people don't understand it, and sometimes you'll walk in and it feels like everything's already been done. You know, you're just a little bit lost. So how do you go through that with people, or prepare them to go through it?
Well, basically, you know, in the beginning of let's say a typical day in General District Court,
right,
where
so
they're
a serious
there
case would start in General District and then
for
get
preliminary
certified,
hearing,
right?
And it's an explanation as to what you're here for. This is a probable cause hearing. This is the hearing that you put on enough evidence to establish probable cause, and you know, take it from there. And then we explain the case being certified, if a case is being certified, to the grand jury, and then on to circuit court, and provide those services and stay with those people every step of the way. That's the goal. That once you establish a rapport with your victims, you want to stick with them throughout the process so that they have a familiar face, someone that they feel comfortable with.
And so they're notified of all those changes.
Yes.
People who aren't familiar with the court system, they think, okay, this is the court date and it's a real date. And in a whole lot of cases, it's not. Things get moved around.
Things get continued. And, you know, the circumstances arise that, you know, we have no control over. And so, yes, we have to call them and let them know that the case has been continued to another day. That can be very frustrating to them. We've been to court several times. You know, when is this going to end? And, you know, it's a process. And unfortunately, sometimes it takes a little longer than we anticipate. But in the end, we hope that justice is served and the outcome is what we're looking for. You know, the system does not work as fast as people think. You know, a lot of people watch.
If you see Law and Order, you think that the crime happens, that somebody's arrested, and it's solved in an hour.
Exactly, and unfortunately, a lot of people look at what happens on TV and can I do an affidavit? Can I do this? Can I do that? And you know, we have to explain to them, no, we don't do that. But you know, it gets a little hectic. You know, we have a lot of people that we deal with. We're limited with staff. We could definitely use more. We serve over 2,000 or more a year, which is quite a bit. With the, you know, we have 13 to 14 attorneys in the office, and then 6 actual people who work with direct services with victims and witnesses.
What are victims' biggest concerns when they're facing this legal process? What are they worried about? What is hard for them? That
the person is not going to get time for the crime that they've committed, or that they're going to get off. That you know, the fear of a person not being put in jail and that they're going to come back and repeat the offense against them. Witness intimidation, you know, that if I do testify, someone may do something to me. So we have people who don't want to testify, which makes it very difficult.
Well, let's talk about witnesses for a minute. I mean, I think that has been certainly a challenge for police departments and for the legal system, is that people are afraid to come forward. And it is a very real, sometimes it's because, you know, the anti-snitching or a cultural change or just a lack of personal commitment, but sometimes it is a very real fear. What do you say to people to try to get them to come forward or to deal with that fear?
Well, I mean, the biggest thing that you can do is just to say, you have to let someone know that these things are happening. You know, we have to know that someone is intimidating you or threatening you about having to come to court. That's a crime. You know, a person can be charged and convicted with that. It's easier to say than it is to get that message across.
Oh, it's a very scary thing, I'm sure.
Yeah. So you know, it's a process daily, trying to get people to cooperate. They know it's something that needs to be done. They know the importance. You try to take it from the stance that, you know, you don't want this happening to anyone in your family. So, you know, it's the right thing to do. So we need your help with that.
Do they? Is it sometimes, though, it's such a prolonged process? Like maybe they make it to the first set of hearings, but after that there's a confrontation or their fears escalated when they have to face that, you know, person again. Is it hard to keep them involved in the process?
It can be, depending on the type of case it is. You have some people who are gung-ho, I am going to do what I'm supposed to do. It's my responsibility as a citizen of the city. And then you have people who are just terrified of having to do this because they don't know what's going to happen. Who's going to protect me? Who's going to be there? And that is a hard question to answer. You know, no one can be there day in and day out. But what we can assure you is that if we know, then, you know, the authorities will be notified, you know, the police department, and we will not tolerate, or the Commonwealth will not tolerate anyone being witness intimidation. So, again, it's a hard thing to try to get through to them, but we try.
Well, that's great. Yeah. Do you have any tips that you'd like to share? So suppose someone has been a victim of a crime. What are some things that you would tell them right off the bat to sort of explain the process or just ease their mind?
Well, you know, we try to give them an orientation, so to speak, of what's going to happen when you come to court, where to park, not necessarily how to dress, however, you know, things that are not appropriate for court.
I see that so often. Yeah. People are not familiar with the court system.
The court system.
Particularly younger people don't have that same decorum that, you know, old people our age have.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. But just to give them an understanding of what the process is, who they will be meeting with, the types of things that they need. If it's a crime involving property loss and financial loss, then we have loss statements that we have them fill out and make sure that the Commonwealth has available to be able to ask the court that restitution be made a part of the sentence of the person. And these are some of the rights that victims and witnesses have, or victims have.
Which they wouldn't necessarily know unless your office was there.
They don't know, and that's the thing about it. People have for so long known the rights of defendants or offenders. You know, you have the right to remain silent.
Exactly,
you know?
We can all recite that, I bet.
Who knows? You have the right to be treated with sensitivity, with respect, with dignity, and that your rights be protected to the fullest extent of the law. That they don't know, and I oftentimes do that with training, when training officers. How many of you know what the rights are? You know, 19.2-11.01, the Code of Virginia states that, you know, these rights are available to crime victims, but you always know the rights of offenders. So we try to instill in our officers, when doing training, when doing awareness campaigns for the public, that victims need to know where they can go to get services and that they have these rights. And of course, you know, some people know about them ahead of time. We get calls from people who say, I received a call from a friend who said I needed to call you because you could help me with this, whatever. And so that's been very helpful, that people are listening and know that there are services available and that, you know, there's some place to get help.
That's good. That's great. So Karla, if someone is watching this and thinks, oh, I have a friend or I know someone who could use this assistance, how do they get in touch with you? Well,
we are located in the General District Court building for the City of Hampton, on the corner of Pembroke and King Street. And our telephone number is 757-726-6978. That's the number directly to the Victim Witness Services office.
Okay.
Anyone in the office can provide assistance to you. It's just a matter of calling, and we'll do what we can to help as best as we can.
That's great. Now, I'm going to ask you a personal question because I've heard your name a lot in connection with Victim Witness Services, but I've also heard your name in connection with performances.
Yes.
And everybody in the studio thought you were here to sing for us today.
I am not here to sing today. I am here in my professional capacity as a director of Victim Witness Services. But yes, I do sing. I do a lot of singing for the city as well as for the community.
You were at Peninsula Town Center recently.
Yes, I was.
Yeah.
A couple of Fridays ago. It was an outdoor concert, a little chilly out there, but a very nice concert, and it's been fun. It actually is an outlet for me because you can imagine this is a very stressful type job and working with the types of crimes that we do. So I use this as an outlet. I enjoy it. I've been doing it for a while. Get it honestly, both my parents sing, and we're both educators in the city of Hampton, retired school teachers. But that's where it comes from. So. that's what.
Well, that's wonderful. I can't wait to hear you sometime. Okay. Maybe we'll get you back and talk you into singing.
Maybe you can.
Well, thank you very much for coming by, Karla.
Thank you for
having me. It's good to talk to you.
Thank you so much.
And thank you for watching. I hope that if you unfortunately are a victim of a crime or a witness to a crime, that you realize that there are services available and you can get in touch with Karla Crump Reaves or her staff, and they can make that process a little easier for you.